Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today. And I'm here today to basically show you how you guys can make essentially over $1,700 a week using the Robinhood investing app. Now, I want to make this video for essentially two reasons. One, I want it to be a chronological log of essentially my investments with Robinhood and my progression through the stock market. And two, I want it to be an educational video for everyone else out there who might be just starting out. Is a beginner, kind of similar to me. Now, before I actually got into the stock market, I did do my own research. I did look up some things regarding the stock market. I talked to other people, other investors, educating myself on finance. I do not claim to be an expert by any means. I still think my knowledge level is very rudimentary, but I think I have a grasp on things and the things I'm doing. So like that, you prevent yourselves from fudging up too bad and essentially pissing your money away. Anyways, I think it's very important for all of you to do your own research before you put any money down. Like that, you prevent yourselves from essentially losing too much. But let's get right into the numbers. I hope this video log I'm going to be making regarding my investments helps you guys. Also, maybe you guys know more than I do and you can give me some tips, some investing options, things like that. So I want it to be just a very educational experience all around. But now let's get into it. This is how you can essentially make 1,700 plus in the stock market as a complete beginner. So as you guys can see right now, my total investments portfolio, whatever you want to call it, is at $2,436.32. Now, as you guys can see here on the week view, I made a total of $1,708.97. It's actually closer to $1,730 because it doesn't count my investment that carried over from one day. But essentially, I'm going to go through what I did to get to this value. Like I said, my initial investment was a total of $600, which I deposited into the app last Thursday. On Friday, I decided to up that and deposit an additional $100. So my total investment, that was all I ever did, was $700. Now, my first investment on my day trading journey would actually be Planet Fitness stock. All I did was essentially buy $600 worth of Planet Fitness stock and then sell it later that day for profit. I ended up making a total of $25. The reason I picked Planet Fitness is because it's a very profitable gym. Their memberships are only $10, and comparing them to all the other gyms that were shut down during the pandemic, they're making their return a lot faster because of their low operating costs and their low memberships. They have a lot of members that don't actually go to the gym. They just pay for the $10 membership to make themselves feel better, and they're collecting all those $10 from thousands and thousands of people instead of an LA Fitness that charges like $50-$60. So as you can see here, Planet Fitness overall is a very good stock. The trends are going up. Their stock has been skyrocketing overall. Now, after the pandemic shutdowns, all stocks took a dip. As you can see here in the months of March and April, all stocks kind of just crashed. But Planet Fitness is on its way back, as well as many other stocks. They're making a lot quicker return compared to other gyms, and their stock overall is just skyrocketing again because of the reasons I gave, their low operating costs and their low membership fees. So I thought it'd be a good first investment. I just took my $600 or $610 because I had $10 left over, and I invested it, and then I sold it later that day at $635 for a $25 profit that day. And that would be my official first day trading profit. In my opinion, it'd be kind of anticlimactic on the damage I would do in the days to come. In the days to come, I would start playing around with put options and call options, which that's where the real money can be made. But with that benefit also comes greater risk, so you can also lose a lot of money in those options. Now, with call and put options, you're essentially bringing in probability into the equation. So in a nutshell, you're essentially betting on the stock market. A call option, you're essentially betting that the stock's going to shoot up, and if it shoots up, you make a profit. And a put option is the inverse of that, so you're essentially betting the stock market's going to crash, and if it goes down, you make money. Now, it doesn't have to be as radical as betting. If you're very well informed on the company you're investing, where they're trending, where they're projected to go, their news overall, you can make a very well informed guess essentially and minimize your losses without doing anything too crazy. Now, if we look over here, Twitter was my first option trading. I ended up buying a call contract for Twitter. The reason I did that is because last week Twitter stock had taken a really big hit. Specifically on the day I bought it, Twitter stock was really low, and my thought process behind that is all popular stocks like this, if you look at their trends, end up consolidating themselves eventually. So my thought is it's going to shoot back up. So I ended up buying one call option for that Twitter stock. If we go look at the numbers, we'll see that I bought one contract for $194 and then a second contract for $230. The reason I bought them separately is because I just bought one to start off. I was still being very hesitant, but I saw a little bit of profits, so I decided to go all in and buy another one at $230. So I ended up paying a little bit more, but that would be anticlimactic because after I did that, the stock would actually continue to go down, and then it would eventually shut down for the weekend because the stock market isn't open on the weekend, and I bought those on Friday. So, I was feeling pretty down on myself, but something that you have to keep in your mind when you do this is you cannot get emotional. People have told me that when I went into this, you cannot be emotional, because if you are, you'll do bad moves that will cost you a lot of money, which I ended up doing later on in this week. So I take those with a grain of salt. I see it as a lesson. Now I know what not to do next time. But when the stock market opened on Monday, you'll see that it actually ended up shooting back up, and I ended up selling both those contracts for $610. So I ended up making, I think, what does that come out to? Like a $400 profit just in 1 hour of the stock opening on the weekend. So I'll look at it this way. I made $400 in an hour, and that would end up shooting me past the $1,000 mark. And before that actually happened, like I said, it dipped back down. So my total investments went all the way down to $500. So I was feeling pretty down on myself. I was feeling pretty, let's call it sad, emotional. And I wanted to sell them and just walk away with my losses before I lost more. But in my heart, well, I won't say in my heart, in my mind, I knew it was going to consolidate itself. So I held them on for a little while longer. They did. They shot back up and sold them for a profit. If we look at my homepage here, that investment ended up making me around $400. I initially lost a little bit of money, which shot me back down to $550. And then when the stock shot back up, it ended up making me a total of around $400 and a net profit of about $182 if I'm doing the math correctly. So that shot me over the $1,000 mark. I was pretty happy. Now, my next move, I would end up going back to my roots. I went back to Planet Fitness. This time I ended up buying some put contracts. The reason I did that is because if we look over here, the Planet Fitness stock got a boost in its numbers ever since they released the news about the possibility of a vaccine and it being 90% effective. And we see these numbers real quick, the top ones, they're a reminder of a time I did get too emotional and I ended up losing a lot of money. But if we go look down in the history, we'll see what I ended up doing next. I ended up buying some put contracts because it had such a drastic jump. I knew it would consolidate itself, shoot back down, and I made another small profit there. This one was a lot bigger, so I don't know why I'm saying small, but that would end up shooting me to, I believe, $1,600, $1,694, and at one point it was at almost $1,800, but I didn't sell it at that point. I sold it a little bit later. So missed out on a tiny bit of money, but nothing to cry about. Next, I would end up dabbling outside of Planet Fitness. I ended up going to Delta Airlines. The reason I picked Delta Airlines is because similar to Planet Fitness, it ended up getting that boost in stock after the news regarding the vaccine. All stocks, if you go and look, they had that boost. So I picked Delta Airlines because no one's flying, so they took a big hit. And even with the news of the vaccine, no one's going to be flying anytime soon. So even though it shot up, as you can see here, I knew it would end up consolidating itself. And when that happened, if I had to put contract on that, I would end up making a profit. Then, just as I predicted, Delta Airlines started to go back down. It started to slowly trickle back down, as you can see here. With this investment, I actually ended up being a little bit more aggressive. I had got that hesitation out of my system, so I ended up going a little bit more aggressive on this investment. As we'll see, I ended up actually buying a total of 7 contracts all in one go. I did not buy them separately. I paid about, let's see here, about $1,600 for them, all 7 of them. And then I ended up, when the stock did end up going down, like I predicted, I told you guys, educated guesses, I ended up selling them later for a total of $2,300 around there. So it ended up making me a $700 profit. So my biggest profit to that day. So as you can see throughout the week, my profits ended up increasing. And what that did for me is it shot me up to my new high of, at its peak, it shot me over the $2,000 mark, and at its peak, and it ended up getting me into that $2,400 range. But I ended up selling them a little bit after that. Now, what would happen next is that sadly, the emotions would get the better of me. After I sold that Delta airline contract that morning, I ended up getting really busy at work, so I wasn't able to reinvest those profits into anything else. I did get some free time later in the day, but by that time the stock market was getting ready to close. It was, I think, like maybe 20 minutes before it closed. I did not have any stocks I was looking into, any stocks I was researching, so I really didn't know where to put my money. But I just felt this anxiety that I needed to put my money somewhere, because if I did not, I would essentially miss out on a day's profit. So I did a very panicky move. I ended up putting those all those profits I made into some contracts into Apple. I chose Apple because I said, hey, what the heck, it's Apple, like it's always a popular stock, it's always essentially trending up. So I ended up making that an impulse. Looking back on it, that was a complete mistake. I should have waited. I should have just let the day ended and then made a researched investment. I ended up putting that down, and then after that the market closed. That whole latter of that day, I was so anxious because I felt like, what if the stock opens, what if it crashes, what if I lose my money I just made? And basically leading up to the next morning at 6 a.m. I was very anxious. The stock opened, it actually ended up first dipping and then skyrocketing again. I sold it as soon as I broke even. I think I ended up actually making like $8 from that. And as soon as I saw that green, I sold on it because I was already anxious. I didn't think it was a very safe investment to begin with. So I got my money and left as soon as I could without losing anything. So it was pretty good. And basically the stock ended up going back down later in the day. So I would have lost money if I would have stayed in there. So I took that again with a grain of salt. It was a lesson in my books. Now I'm investing into some Royal Caribbean. The reason I picked Royal Caribbean is because, similar to the Delta Airlines, after those vaccine news, it spiked up and now it's trending slowly back down. So I thought it'd be a quick easy buck to buy some put contracts here. So I currently purchased those. We're aftermarket. So on my next video, I will be updating you guys where those contracts went, if I made a profit or if I fucked it up again. In conclusion, guys, I could have probably made $2,000 this week, but I let the emotions get the better of me. And I ended up missing out on a little bit of profits, but it's whatever. Live and learn. Now I know what to do next time. I think if you make very educated guesses, you do your research on the stocks you're investing, and don't let the emotions get the best of you, you can make a lot of money through the Robinhood app. I'm going to be updating these videos on a weekly basis, so be sure to tune in next time if you're wondering where I'll be in a week from today. This week I ended up at 2436. Be sure to let me know anything you think I should know in the comment section below, or if you have any questions for me, I'll be interacting a lot down there. If you enjoyed the video, please like it helps a lot, and subscribe if you want to come back next week to see how much money I can make next week. My goal right now is $2,000, and I think I can hit it. But overall, thank you for tuning in for my first cringy video. Thank you very much.